This is the Timeform Radio Ratings Update Podcast with Phil Turner.
Now, these ratings podcasts, they're getting bigger and better each and every Monday, Phil, due to the high-quality action over the weekend. Can we put that into the bracket for this edition, Phil?
Plenty of quantity in terms of horses and plenty of quality as well, certainly amongst the novice brigade.
Few surprising results, and we're going to perhaps start off by listening to one of them, and the feature race at Sandown on Saturday.
Summersby over 2 from home from Dodging Bullets. A bad mistake by Boulder Success. Dodging Bullets for Sam Twiston Davis moves past Summersby. Hinterland is back in third, then Boulder Success and Third Intention, the last in the Tingle Creek. Dodging Bullets from Summersby. Hinterland continues to stay on in third place. Dodging Bullets off up the run-in, leads by over a length. Summersby valiant in pursuit but has no more to give, and it's Dodging Bullets driven out to the line for Sam Twiston Davis and Paul Nichols, who will win the 888 Sport Tingle Creek. Summersby in second place, third for Hinterland. In fourth then was Boulder Success from Third Intention.
Now, Phil, on Dodging Bullets, it's not always been plain sailing for him, and he's never really looked top class. Was it due to the fact that the Tingle Creek this year was somewhat under par, or have we seen the real Dodging Bullets step forward?
I think definitely it's more a case of the former, to be honest. I hate sort of talking down races because clearly they're all above average horses, aren't they? But in terms of the Tingle Creek, I think it is fair to call it a substandard renewal. And I guess sort of if you wanted an idiot-proof guide, I guess Summersby could be it. He's knocking on in years. He's been sort of well beaten in this race in the past by the sort of real superstars of the 2-mile division. And despite the fact he's 11 next month, he came very close to winning it, which would suggest the crop of younger rivals in the 2-mile division this year, possibly aren't anything to get too excited about. So we've got Dodging Bullets running to 162, which is a career best, don't get me wrong, and he did it well. There's a lot to like about the way he went through the race. He was certainly more convincing in the latter stages than sometimes has been the case. And I guess that might be sort of a couple of those weak finishes just in recent seasons have been on really, really deep ground. I know it was quite testing at Sandown on Saturday, but not like he's had on a couple of occasions. So it was more convincing in the finish. But just to put it into some sort of context, a rating of 162, if you compare that to the last two winners, Sada Gruzi is 172 with a plus, and Sprinter Sacre, of course, he's up on that lofty rating of 192. So, as you say, it's not a vintage renewal, but it was a competitive race, and we've got him on 162. Just rattle off some of the others. Summersby 158. He has been high in his absolute pomp, but we think he's confident around that sort of level nowadays. Hinterland 156. There's an argument he possibly didn't enjoy the run of the race, but I wouldn't imagine he'd be much better than that. And just the sort of two favourites who didn't necessarily show the running in the race, Boulder Success and God's Own. Boulder Success, he had to sort of race wider and then made a sort of bad mistake throughout. I don't think it cost him victory, don't get me wrong, but he will finish a little bit closer, but for that. He's sort of on 158 now, although he ran to sort of £6 below that. And God's Own, his old rival, he's down to 157. We've pulled down the Exeter race because it's not been working out well so far, not just on these two horses. So we've taken a sort of more conservative view of it now. So as you see, they're all sort of clumped together, but all a bit of a muchness in the wider scheme of things.
Dodging Bullets at 14 to 1 anti-post on the sportsbook for the champion chase. Would you be surprised if he's genuinely going to be a big contender come Cheltenham time? But the picture is somewhat murky anti-post.
It is very murky because of the big doubts about the two big names I've already mentioned. I guess you just hold far. If you sort of take the chance that they're not going to be there, I guess there's an argument that 14 to 1 isn't that bad a price. But I think we've got enough evidence of sort of his hurdling career, both seasons over hurdles and his novice chase career, that when he gets to the spring, he usually finds one or two too good for him. He was fourth in the Arc, I think fourth or fifth, wasn't he? And I'd imagine something similar will happen. And fair play, they found a race, it was a substandard renewal, and he took full advantage. But it would be a weak year were he to be sort of prove the best of these.
We'll be to-ing and fro-ing from back and forth to Ireland, and that's where we head next, because Sunday's John Durkan Memorial Punchestown Chase took place on the card at 2 o'clock, a Grade 1, and Don Cossack, the winner.
Don Cossack in front. The challengers coming now on the far side. Texas Jack and Boston Bob, and down now to the final fence, and Don Cossack lands in the lead from Boston Bob and Texas Jack, and Don Cossack is not for passing as they race up towards the finish, and Don Cossack is now lengthened away, and the battle's on for second, and Don Cossack makes it 3 out of 3 this year. An impressive victory from Boston Bob, Lord Windermere and Texas Jack.
And to rate the race, Phil, you can tell us about Don Cossack, although second and third with perhaps different targets in mind. This is where the ratings come into play.
This is a tricky one to rate. Don Cossack has been a hard horse for me to get a handle on this autumn, to be honest. As the commentator just said, he's 3 from 3, and they've all come in sort of messy, small field affairs. And that doesn't mean the form was worthless, it's just it can be tricky to get a handle on. And Sunday's race was a prime example, because he ended up sort of enjoying the run of things to an extent, because he was left in front when the 2 pace setters, the 2 outsiders, took heavy falls early on, and it ended up sort of, that wasn't the plan obviously with him, but he ended up enjoying the run of things and always had too much toe for his 3 rivals over a trip which almost certainly suits him better than those other 3. Certainly in the case of Boston Bob and Lord Windermere, they're both shaped as if they just got tap for toe at a vital stage and were sort of showing their best work late on, in particular Lord Windermere. And in some respects that was a more encouraging run by Lord Windermere than Boston Bob. So as things stand, those 2 horses have actually still got higher ratings than Don Cossack. Boston Bob's on 163 and Lord Windermere is on 161, though they didn't run to that figure on the day. Don Cossack's up to 160, but we've got a plus with him, and that's because it's an acknowledgement that he's rated below horses he's actually beaten. You know, if we took a literal view of both this result and the result before at Down Royal when he beat Wonderful Charm a long way, he obviously could be rated a lot higher. We don't think, for a variety of reasons, that any of those horses run to their very, very peak. So that's why it's a difficult one to get a handle on. But he's certainly going the right way. And I think he seems to be the horse who's had a few sort of nasty names called out. He probably doesn't deserve all of those. His strike rate's a bit better than that might suggest, and he's with the top yard. I can't speak highly enough for Gordon Elliott's, and no, respect him. I think they're going down the Ryanair route with him, and
8-1 on the sportsbook, Phil. Don Cossack.
I mean, if that turned out to be a similar field to last year's renewal, even off that rating, he'd be in with some sort of chance, because it was a sort of weakish renewal in the end. That you had horses. I know, obviously, Dynasty's a top class animal, but the second and third, Hidden Cyclone and Reggiani Express, that wouldn't scare off Don Cossack's connections, would it? So he's rated above both of those. So he would have been right in the mix off that sort of rating in last year's race. And if you take into account that he should be rated even higher, and that's not the most harebrained idea out there, then yeah, that's probably not that bad a price.
OK, Don Cossack then in winning action over the weekend, and it was great that we can reflect on the holy trinity of the Whately horses at Philip Hobbs, and we'll discuss the latest of them, who was in action at Huntingdon on Sunday.
Up front, Edward drawing alongside Wishful Thinking. Wishful Thinking, Reggiani Express and Wonderful Charm in behind, both being niggled at. Edward's arrived there with Brian Harding going well. Wishful Thinking has looked in the mood from the moment the flag fell, though, at the start, and he is still the fractional leader. Wishful Thinking coming down the second last fence with Edward for company, the 2 of them in the air together. Wonderful Charms not found a great deal in third, Reggiani Express in 4th place, and now Edward comes down towards the last, takes a narrow lead, made a bit of a mess of it. Wishful Thinking, Wonderful Charm in behind him in 3rd place, now onto the run-in. The Peterborough Chase never disappoints, and Wishful Thinking's back in front. Edward, now it's Wonderful Charm who's going to be the danger on the outside. Wishful Thinking, Wonderful Charm and Edward. Wishful Thinking gets reward for a fabulous round of jumping. Wishful Thinking for Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson. Superb stuff. Edward and also Wonderful Charm made it a great race again. French Opera in behind those with Dubois-Tron.
Really enjoyed the commentary from John Hunt, the feature Peterborough Chase on the Huntingdon calendar, and what a jumping performance that was. And the trio of horses I mentioned, Phil, Captain Chris, Wishful Thinking and Menorah, what a joy it is to continually see them strut their stuff and do their thing on racetracks. I mean, he's veteran stage now and he's still got the old magic. Yeah,
all 3 of them really in the sort of past 12 to 18 months have sort of really found a rich vein of form and a rich vein of sort of consistency as well, which is probably something they have been a tad frustrating on that score at times in the past, but no, they seem to be just sort of taking their turns to win a big prize, aren't they? And It seems to be wishful thinking. Whenever we stick a squiggle on him, he goes and wins a big prize, and that was definitely the case at the weekend. As we've explained a fair few times, in mitigation,